Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of News Dabs. I'm Jimmy Young.
I'm Nicole Spiller, now reporting for the Pro Cannabis Media Group and ProCannabisMedia.com. We look at all the big stories developing here in Massachusetts and around the world in the emerging cannabis industry.
We start this week in our home state of Massachusetts, where the battle continues over a whole bunch of issues. The biggest battle was in Cambridge, a progressively liberal community just on the other side of the Charles River from Boston.
There are a few city councilors in Cambridge who got themselves noticed last week when they announced a new policy that would delay the rollout of adult-use recreational stores for 2 more years. That sparked quite a response at the city council hearing in Cambridge last Thursday. All 3 of the medical dispensaries operating in Cambridge showed up with hundreds of supporters to fill the chambers to overflow.
Revolutionary Clinics, Sira Naturals, and Healthy Farms have all operated medicinal dispensaries over the past few years in Cambridge, and all had hoped that since the residents of Cambridge overwhelmingly approved legalization in 2016, they would be the most logical candidates for adult use licenses. Now, these 2 city councilors, Sumbul Siddiqui and Quinton Zondervan, want to give those who have been most impacted by the failed war on drugs preferential treatment for those precious adult use licenses and opportunities.
Those 3 dispensaries also presented an opportunity to create a $5 million fund that would help those social equity applicants at the same time. Meanwhile, those 3 dispensaries are threatening a lawsuit against the city, so the Cambridge Cannabis Civil Weed Wars will continue.
It was a busy week at the Cannabis Control Commission of Massachusetts as well, as they move forward with regulations guiding the delivery of adult-use cannabis and social cannabis clubs. Now, nothing was approved yet, but comments from the public will continue, and you won't see clubs or delivery until fall at the earliest.
The Commission also delayed until the fall a decision about one-day licenses for public events. It was hoped that festivals or concerts could apply for single-day licenses where consumption would be allowed. There was some progress made, however, when the Commission agreed to waive a waiting period for patients to receive their medicine without waiting for their card to arrive in the mail. Under this new initial access certification that begins this month, patients who qualify for a medical card will be able to buy a 14-day supply as soon as they get their diagnosis from a certified medical marijuana doctor.
In the meantime, in Washington, D.C., that place continues to be very active for all sorts of cannabis legislation. The biggest confusing factor, of course, is federal illegality versus legal states, and that is starting to move forward with a Department of Justice move to leave legal states alone. Now, the biggest battle is over CBD, the non-intoxicating component of the cannabis plant. A new study by CB Insights reports that 90% of private investments in the CBD sector are operating in an FDA gray area. Only 4 of over 2,000 cannabis-related businesses are operating within FDA guidelines. Now, there is more and more pressure on the FDA to release guidelines for the entire industry and update those guidelines.
Here's a few news dabs for you. Maine Governor Janet Mills signed a bill that has set up the regulations for the sale of adult-use cannabis in early 2020. Ireland has now opened the door for medical use of cannabis in that country.
And now that cannabis is becoming more and more accepted in our society, some colleges and universities are starting to offer courses of study in that plant. That includes Clark University of Worcester, Massachusetts. That school is now offering online courses on state regulations, health and public safety concerns, and participants will learn about the influence of socioeconomic, health, and legal views on cannabis use and the creation of public policies. Why? Because it's a whole new world of weed out there. That'll do it for this week's News Dabs. I'm Jimmy Young.
And I'm Nicole Spiller.
News Dabs is a weekly production of the Pro Cannabis Media Group. It is supported by Alternative Compassion Services in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. ACS is a leading provider of medicinal cannabis at 693 Elm Street in Bridgewater.